Hey everybody, it's Angie from Trips with Angie. I'm a travel agent who loves sharing her travels all over the world. I especially like cruises, all-inclusive resorts, and escorted tours. If that sounds like you, I hope you'll consider subscribing. This is the third video in a series of 6 videos about my 6-week trip to Asia. We've talked about Singapore, we've talked about my review of the Celebrity Millennium, and in this video, I'm going to go through the ports of call we had on our Celebrity Millennium cruise. We went to Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Before you head to Asia, there's a few things you need to do. First and most important is your immigration documents. So be sure to check to make sure you have the visas you need to go to the countries on the itinerary. For Singapore, we had to fill out a Singapore arrival card within 3 days of our departure. And for Indonesia, we had to get a visa upon arrival. Both of those had to be done before we left. And I live in the United States. So depending on what kind of passport you have, that will dictate what kind of visas you will need to get. The second thing to think about is medical. So we always meet with a travel nurse before we go on any exotic trips, just to review what the hazards in the particular area may be. So in the places we were going, you had to be really careful of mosquitoes, water, and food. So we went over all of the current CDC warnings and talked about what would be the best choices for us, if there was any vaccinations we needed, and how to best prepare for the mosquitoes. In our case, we decided to dip our clothing in an anti-mosquito solution and also bring DEET, insect repellent, and wear long sleeves, long pants, and socks whenever we were in an area that potentially had mosquitoes. The third thing you're going to want to prepare for as you're packing is the heat. This is a very hot area of the world. I highly recommend bringing a fan. We wear neck fans just so we can have our hands free. You want to have loose fitting, dry fit clothing in light colors just to make sure you're staying cool as you explore all of these great areas. Our first port of call was Phuket, Thailand. This is a tender port, so we took small boats from the ship to the shore. We did an overview tour with Celebrity Cruise Lines, so we visited a few different locations. This was a temple that happened to be having a service while we were there, so we got to hear the monks chant. We also visited a convenience store to learn more about the agricultural goods. We went to a cashew factory, and then we went to another temple to see the decorations for the Lunar New Year. This is a beach port, so there's a ton of restaurants and a beach right when you get off the tender. And we also recommend getting a Thai massage. The prices were very inexpensive. Our next port of call was Langkawi, Malaysia. The highlight for me was the otters swimming just on the left side of the pier as we were walking to our excursion. We did take a rainforest excursion that was not great. In Penang, we took the Penang Hill excursion. I highly recommend heading up Penang Hill. There's a wonderful cable car that takes you all the way to the top. You pass some historic homes. These homes are now owned by the government, and they're leased to low-income people or artists in residence because they've been there so long. They're part of history and they are protected, but they do allow some people to live there. And it's a great ride up to the top of the hill. Now, what is at the top of the hill? You're going to find some temples. There is this incredible Indian temple. There is a beautiful restaurant if you wanted to sit down dining. We didn't have time on our tour, but it was still available. Then we headed to Kek Lok Si Temple. This is one of the largest Buddhist temples in Southeast Asia. It's the largest in Malaysia, and it has lots of stairs. So just know this going in. To get to the top where the pagoda is, you're going to have to go up quite a few stairs, but it's beautiful. We also, on the second day, went to the mainland. So we took a private tour to go across the bridge, and we went to a small fishing village where we were able to buy shrimp directly from the fishermen with the help of our guide. And we took it to a local restaurant. So here's a picture of the restaurant and all the motorbikes there where they cooked it for us. This was one of my favorite excursions we did on the whole 6 weeks journey. It was absolutely incredible. Port Klang is kind of the entry port to get to Kuala Lumpur. We made a poor choice here. We should have booked a private excursion. The celebrity excursion took us to the mall, and then we waited for an hour and a half to go up on the observation deck. In Indonesia, I really wish I had paid attention to where we were docking and how far away things were. We had a private guide for 2 of the days. The first port of call, we had an incredible greeting from all of the local musicians. We went to more of a local temple temple and were able to explore there. Now, it's really important when you're going to temples that you have the proper attire, that your knees and shoulders are covered. We also went to the hot springs. So this was a very cool place to go. We had a really nice lunch there. We didn't go into the water, but a lot of other folks from the cruise ship were there and headed in. And then we went to another temple. Again, this was more of a local temple. Absolutely beautiful. We had to put on sarongs, so our guide had sarongs for us to tie around our waist just to make sure we were properly attired. You did have to pay to get in. But ooh, does Indonesia have some traffic? So this was from our day when we finally made it to the Bali area. We were in traffic for 2 hours. Like, this is not a joke. So you definitely want to keep that in mind if you're trying to plan independent excursions. We were able to go to some beautiful temples. I was really struck by how different all the temples were. I mean, this is absolutely incredible, the design and how they maintain it. We also went to the rice terrace, so we were able to see how rice is grown throughout Indonesia. This had been turned into a tourist attraction because so many Instagram people came. They had to put some infrastructure in because they were ruining the crops. It had a nice restaurant where we were able to have lunch, and then you can see they were just starting to plant the new rice plants. Then we went to this last temple on the lake, which was absolutely incredible and had the most tourist infrastructure of all the temples we went to. It had all of these Instagram spots where they made these beautiful backdrops for people to take photos. There was gelato, there was a cafe. It was incredible. So I highly recommend this cruise. It is a great taste of Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. I hope you subscribe so you don't miss the next video about our tour in Vietnam.